Thank you so much for tuning in to Tandem Hope YouTube channel, and I'm your host, Alicia Cole. In today's video, we're actually going to chop it up in 3 or 4 parts because there's so much content. We're talking a little bit about the science of sound, but also the application of using GarageBand to record and edit your audio for your podcast. So bear with me. I guarantee you're going to learn something that you didn't know, and I guarantee that I can communicate it in a way to you that will really simplify just the years I spent learning the hard way, teaching myself, learning from others, so that I could get to the place where I'm at right now. And so thank you so much for checking this out. Check out each part of the video. I'll put in details and in the title which part you're listening to. Make sure you listen to all of them start to finish. I'd hate to lose you in the middle of one of those videos. So start to finish. It's going to be great. I'm excited to help you get your podcast started. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about EQs, highs, mids, lows. I'm going to switch screens a little bit and just give you a little change of scenery here. You guys have been so patient. We've talked a little bit step by step. We're getting pretty far. We're maybe in step 5 or so. Let's look at our checklist real quick. So I made this checklist. I'll refer to it again later in the video. But I know I'm spitting out a lot of words, but these are some of the words that you're learning. And then I'll teach you a little bit how to use them and how to use them quickly. So EQs. EQs are going to be some of the first plugins you use. Okay. Here's that list. I apologize. So EQ, that means equalizer. You have your lows, mids, and highs. So remember, keep that in mind in regards to sound waves, frequencies. I believe one of the easiest ways to kind of explain kind of a higher frequency is the sound waves there's going to be more sound waves, so to speak, or more activity, kind of just compressed, pushed together in like a briefer amount of time. That may be the worst way to explain it. I don't know. Versus the low frequencies are going to be those just, there's going to be a greater distance between the next sound wave and that next movement on the sound wave versus it's going to be really jagged on those higher frequencies. So just visually something to kind of keep in mind when you're thinking of lows, mids, and highs. So the EQ chisels away at unneeded and unnecessary sounds. The highs. So if we were to amplify the highs, what would happen is we're more likely to hear actually kind of the like lisps or the sibilants. It almost becomes harsh if you use too much of the highs. My fear is that we generally enjoy podcasts that have that lower boomy sound, that bass in the voice that's accentuated. My fear is that are you going to accidentally or unintentionally amplify that bass too much where it becomes muffly? That's just a warning. Make sure it's not muffly in your pursuit to try to have this just nice podcast voice. And I'm going to teach you kind of how to do that. Even the mids, you have your high mids and your low mids actually, but the mids in general, I really struggled with, still kind of struggle with a little bit to master that in terms of singing. The issue is you don't want it to be muddy. If it sounds muffly, muddled, not so clear, the vocal's not driving through the sound, the track very well, you may be a victim of just muddy EQ. And so you would want to decrease some of the frequencies in that mid-range and increase some of the frequencies in the high end. That it also may mean that the mids are fine. You might have to fix some of the low-end EQ. And I'm going to teach you how to do this. I know this seems probably like really overwhelming, but hang in there. All right. Like I said, a quick, easy way to manage EQ is just these knobs. If what I'm saying to you is like really just too much to bear, let me just show you. When you do EQ, this is starting from like little. So this is not going to pick up any high end, right? The more I turn the dial this way, to the right, the more the high frequency is going to be kind of amplified, if you will. Right? So default settings in the middle, all across the board there, right? Depending on which vocal you use, you're going to adjust those accordingly and then just listen. And then you even have here the low cut and those things. I'm at the point where I do EQ from this other view, which might be a little confusing for some, but you'll get used to it. You click Analyzer and see now we have our sound waves. So if I talk really high, you might see that on your screen. You can see how there's the lower end here. There are these like a greater distance between that next wave there. Okay, the lower end. The higher frequencies are going to be sharper, more jagged over here, right? You see that? So there are these presets up here that can help you personalize that, if you will. There are these settings over here, voice, and then you can find something that suits you. So you could spend quite a bit of time creating your template, but once you create your template for your podcast, you can use that in episodes to come and just keep reusing it. And you can always fine tune it later. Don't feel like you have to have all this mastered, right off the bat. You could always ask someone else's opinion and have them listen to it as well. But these presets are pretty good, but I'm kind of picky. Or I've learned to be. So a lot of times, for instance, if we give, you may hear audio engineers talk about high or low shelves and things like that. I can increase the high end frequency over here. See how you see more of those higher frequencies on the right hand bottom part of the screen because I just increased that. If I want to decrease it, right, I bring that down. If I only want a little bit, you can slide this around. Right, there you go. Low end, right, this will actually cut off some of this low end. If I drag this is way too far to drag this, but if I drag this low end cut off, it will sound really tinny. It won't sound very good. So typically, I would say you could keep it, around this area because we don't want too many of the plosives like pa 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 pa. Here, let me move my other microphone. I've got two on. Pa, 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 pa. Oh, I feel so silly. You may find as you're listening that you may want to, this sounds really good. I want to, have more of that. Okay, I actually want to maybe let's see, have a little more right here, but then I want to have a little more right here. Something like that. And you'll get used to it as you move along. When I edit my voice versus, say, my friend Caleb's voice on the podcast, or my friend Rachel or Alexi, every person's voice is a bit different, and we're each actually using different microphones, so that kind of brings forth other considerations when you're editing sound. So, again, I'm just showing a little bit how to interact with it. And it'll be a little bit trial and error. You're going to hear, it sounds more tinny when I increase this. It sounds this, right? And there's a method called sweeping, okay? So let me just deselect some of these. Oops. All right, so as I'm speaking, what you want to do is increase each frequency, and then you're going to hear maybe some squeaking up here. It's not going to sound good, so you'll be like, okay, there's something not so attractive right here. Or I'm sweeping. Oh, wait, what's that? That doesn't sound good. Or, oh, that sounds good. We want more of that. What does that sound like? Oh, this makes it really muddy sounding. I'm going to decrease this frequency right here. So you will have to learn. You will have to listen and learn, but be patient and gracious with yourself. Have some self-compassion and do the same down here. Like, oh, it sounds more clear when I get rid of some of this mid here. Or, oh, it sounds too muddy if we were to do the other extreme. And we cut out too much high end, it's going to sound really muddy, right? Okay, so just again, another consideration, something you can explore further on, but I've kind of consulted some other friends and they've had questions and I've showed them what I've done. And they're learning it. They're already doing it. They've already started a podcast recently. And so you can do this. You can do this. So just keep that in mind.